The PDGA just announced new rule proposals that will surely piss off disc golf fans. What's up, degenerates? It's the disc golf world. I'm Jefferson, and alongside me as always, the one with all the holes in his game, Swiss Cheese, breaking down everything you need to know from the Konopiste Open. But first, we gotta discuss the exclusive staggered stance interview with PDGA representative Robert Leonard, who explained the new proposals in depth. I do want to highlight that these rules are not 100% put into effect yet, and some are exclusively for the Disc Golf Pro Tour, so your precious C tiers are fine. Before we go into the rules, I want to clarify that these were written prior to the season starting, so this was an effort that's taken some time, which should be positively acknowledged, that the PDGA is looking and thinking about rules that are relevant to the game. For example, going back to Waco in the in or out of bounds fiasco, Adam Hammes would not be getting a vote.
Proposed major changes, official rules of disc golf. There are 5 of these. The first one in 801.02, you ready? Thrower no longer votes on determinations. The short and sweet is a determining call. Is it inbounds? Is it out of bounds?
Did I clear this area to take my drop over there? Did I make the man know? Things like that are group determinations. And we are removing the thrower's input on that.
Instead, the 3 other card mates would determine the call. This way, it eliminates the ability for a tie. Not gonna lie, I kind of already thought this was a thing, because why are we trusting people to do the right thing? Okay, that sounds pretty bad, but come on, we got thousands of dollars in the line. Can't expect the best judgments out there. Another big factor for this change is because of the misunderstanding of what benefit to the player means.
We really started thinking about it, and this was mostly because the benefit of the doubt rule it is a tiebreaker. It is not it's close, sure, whatever, right? And that was so widely misunderstood that we just thought it was time to make this massive shift.
The issue this then brings up is all the players that will say they didn't see the shot. What happens then?
Failure to watch your other card mates is also a courtesy violation. So that's why it's not mentioned here, because in theory, if somebody says, I wasn't watching, you can be able to say that's a courtesy violation. That is the correct call in that situation.
This is a warning to all the pros watching to start paying attention. This next proposal, I think, is going to create the most chatter online for both good and bad reasons.
This is now defined. 30 seconds from the tee, the drop zone, or inside, realistically, circle 2 of the putting green, okay? Anytime you're in one of those zones, you get 30 seconds per usual. What I think is the easiest way to explain this update, and it's probably how it was broken down in here as I read it, you now get 45 seconds for all other throws.
This will be known as the 30-45-30. For the slow people out there, you start with 30 seconds, you get 45 in the fairway, and you'll always end back with those 30 seconds.
Are you on the tee? Are you at a drop zone? Or are you within 20 meters of the target? If the answer is yes, 30 seconds. The answer is no, 45 seconds, right?
You might be thinking, what is the point of changing this in the first place? I think it's important to understand why rules were created in the first place instead of just blindly accepting them, since that's what we've known.
This rule was written a long time ago, the 30-second rule, and it was written in a par 3 era of disc golf, right? Where basically like a bad shot was an upshot, a good shot was a putt. That is no longer the case for a majority of our sport.
Think back even just 10 years in the courses played. Shit, remember when we started the tour at the Memorial? The game has evolved much past that. Last weekend, we literally had an 1,100-foot par 5. I think it's okay to allow players more time to think about the shots they need to execute in order to see the best possible throws. Alright, if that couldn't convince you, how about this?
Most people are probably already taking 45 seconds to begin with because they don't realize that when they start doing their rangefinder, when they look at their lie and they start thinking, am I going to go right of that tree or left of their tree? By rule, that clock has already started.
Well,
so we are
in this update specifically, or you're saying
no,
it's always been that way?
That is the current rule now. Because the rule now says once you determine your lie, and if you know where your lie is, then
that is the current, correct.
Based on this, majority of players are going way over that 30-second mark. If you've ever been to an event, How many times do you see a player rangefinder their disc, then go back to their bag to look for discs? Now the mini comes out. Obviously, then they have to look at all the possibilities. And would you look at that? 30 seconds has already gone by. To be fair, what does determining a lie mean? Hard to call a violation on something that doesn't have a cut and dry definition, which is why the rule will be changed to say when a player has addressed their lie. To me, I'm not really too sure what that changes, but Robert did say that players preferred it, so good job. Now to the part that will cause the most debate, or what AI thought was the most interesting. Hey, that was a Matt Graham fact, not mine.
Time extensions. You are able to implement 2 time extensions per player per round.
If you hate that, you might want to click off, because there's more. If a player doesn't use a time extension, but goes over the original time, the other players on the card are obligated to make the extension call for them. There isn't a penalty other than you already using one of the 2 extensions. The idea is to give players a buffer to call time violations without directly penalizing peers in hopes that it speeds up play, or by the 3rd time, maybe you don't feel bad stroking them. Kind of like a 3rd date situation. Now what happens if a player goes over their time extension time?
And now they go beyond that. I find this interesting. They receive a warning. And now
Well,
this
that's
is
just like a
hypothetical.
normal warning, right? For like
Yes,
being
a
lost.
normal warning.
That
because
is now an excessive time warning.
because the rule says you can't use 2 time extensions on a single throw.
So basically, nothing happens. Because let me get this right, you don't want people throwing for that long. I'm confused because in the situation, the person is already going to be throwing that long. Why not, instead of giving them a useless warning, just take away their second extension? You can even write in the rules you can't call 2 back-to-back, but if you ever happen to exceed the length of an extension, you lose the other one. I don't think this will be a common occurrence, but if it does, should definitely be punished. Those were the major proposals. If you want to hear a more in-depth conversation with someone who was actually a part of writing them, head over to Staggered Stance for the full interview. This will include provisional clarification, keeping players in check, Monday finishes, and more. The rest of the details are going to be released on the PDGA website this Wednesday, or you can tune in tomorrow to the Spit Out, Disc Golf World's podcast, which is also available on Spotify. So do us a favor and drop a review if you enjoy. For now, Swiss, hit the people with the FPO recap from the Konopiste Open.
Every year, the European swing kicks off with the same talks of quality of victory and split fields. As this time of year, everyone is looking at the scores and most importantly, who is or isn't playing the event. The game's global outreach has affected the sport more so now than in any other time prior, and the FPO being far more greatly impacted due to that. Understandably, when 6 of the top 20 players are European, holding a much higher percentage than the MPO, including currently one of the best, most dominant, certainly marketable, and arguably the most popular current player in the sport. And I know you don't need to hear it, but someone listening might be new. That and I've seen far too many people have a difficult time calculating the metric system. So I still am going to say it out loud for everybody to hear in Kristen Lott. This divide during this swing results in comment sections being filled with, well, she didn't beat Kristen for the winners of US events, and the live action being far too early for most in the States when in Europe. And it's the fans who ultimately suffer, because despite all the labels and missing some of the top Finnish pros, the Konopiste Open had plenty of talent to showcase. And that's even with another dominating lot victory. It still had a course record being set on the final day, another promising young talent cutting her teeth early on the pro circuit, and still a number of others becoming more recognizable by the community as their skills are further showcased. Rachel Turton has been one of the top players on the European Tour for a couple of years now, while also impressing during a shortened tour run here in the States last year. Came out to an early lead on day 1 following an 8-under round. But it really wouldn't take Kristen long to have a full grasp on this tournament. She headed into day 2 down by 3 strokes, but closed that gap completely and had a share of the lead by hole 4, and ended up finishing 11 under with a bogey-free round, giving her a 5-stroke lead going into Championship Sunday. The remainder of the field was bunched from there, moving up 4 positions with an 8-under Ida Emel Nesse, the teenage Norwegian who garnered a lot of the attention on day 2. But other names like Anal Tugas Manasti, Silva Saranen, Turton, Anakinstein, and Katie Asalu all were in striking range of a podium finish on this scoreable track. And we all knew Lot wouldn't let up, and she certainly didn't, scoring her second double-digit round with a 10 under on the final day. And had it not have been for Silva setting a course record with a 12 under, Lot's lead would have been even wider. Saarinen scored 7 birdies in a row on the back half, one being from 72 feet away, which I don't care what anybody says has a far more impact to my ear than 22 meters does. While Rachel used the back half also to take 3rd place ahead of the young teenager, who finished in 4th. So let's just kick it over to Jefferson, who had Mari Villman take the next step in his pro disc golf career.
Over on the MPO side, Mari Villman would pop off with a hot 13 under to find himself tied for the lead. He didn't slow down from there as he would put together another hot round, this time a 1071 14 down, beating the next best score by 2 strokes. He would come back to reality on the final day, by only shooting a 13 under again, his 3rd straight hot round to secure his first win on the Pro Tour. I'm not going to engage in the conversation of does this count as a real win, because that would be extremely disrespectful. I absolutely refuse to do it. Here. You'll just have to wait until tomorrow. Make sure to subscribe to see that. No matter what, you got to give it to Mari, who played a clean tournament, solid win for the first MVP sponsored player of the season, and to average a higher rating than AB at Cascade, Isaac at Champions Cup, and Nicholas at MCO, and the Open at Austin. Gotta count for something, right? Lori Leitonen found himself 6 strokes back and in 2nd, followed by Nestori Tukinen. Yep, that's not right, but congratulations on 3rd. If you didn't know, Go Throw was back this weekend for the Kayak Point Showdown with an incredibly strong field. Some would argue even harder than a DGPT event. Doesn't really matter too much when Gannon Buhr decided to play absolutely bananas and shoot a 12 under ahead of 2nd by 4 strokes. It was a UDisc rated 364. And what I've gathered from Reddit comments, the conversion to the PDGA rating is ×2 plus 500, which would give us a 1228. I don't know if this equation is quite accurate, or if Gannon really just shot the best round of all time by nearly 100 points. If you want to see it, well, you can't. At least not yet. I'm going to assume he was on Ace Run Productions coverage, which has been delayed due to some significant tech issues. Or you can head over to his YouTube channel where he breaks down the round and explains how he won his 2nd Go Throw event, extending his massive lead for the tour. And that's everything disc golf you need to know from the weekend. To not miss out on our weekly updates, make sure to subscribe. And guys, we're still looking for CTPs or other donations to Disc Golf World's very first tournament. We're trying to make it the best doubles event our area has ever seen. So we're looking for all the help we can get. Here's a message to all the locals out there and anyone that's willing to travel for Disc Golf World's very first tournament. How many times can I say it?
Guys, if I make this putt, you have to attend the first Disc Golf World Tournament. Tag your partner now.
Haven't signed up for Disc Golf World's very first tournament on June 21st yet? What are you doing? If you sign up before June 1st, you get an extra bonus in your player back. Sign up now.